In this video, you would be exposed to a couple of disturbing facts and events that happened one time in history. If you hear the word spooky, certain places come to mind immediately. One such place is Lake Lanier in Georgia, a man-made lake created to help stop flooding. But over the years, there has been something relatively spooky about this lake. Find out what it is in this clip.
This is day 6 of talking about the spookiest places in the world, and today we're talking about Lake Lanier in Georgia. I'm going to go through some of the details here, but I covered this story in full depth on the latest episode of my podcast, so go listen to that for all of the details. Lake Lanier in Georgia is a man-made lake that was initially made to help stop flooding from the Chattahoochee River and to help have water and power supply for the city of Atlanta. But it had a controversial history from the start because the land it was built on was formerly known as Oscarville, a town that had very, very bad things happening in the early 1900s. Oscarville was a thriving Black community in the early 1900s, and it stayed this way until two unfortunate events led angry mobs to drive the Black community out. After that, Oscarville was essentially left as a ghost town, and when the Army Corps of Engineers wanted to build Lake Lanier in the late 1940s, they had to purchase 56,000 acres of land from the remaining residents in the area. And they purchased this land for such a small price. But construction went on, and they ended up getting rid of and relocating tons of things in the town, including houses, businesses, churches, and more. But they also left a lot there to be just flooded by the lake water. They burned down remaining buildings to the concrete studs, and they left trees and, most notably, many, many unmarked graves. Eventually, in 1956, construction was completed and the lake was filled. In the early 2000s, there was a drought that led to lake waters falling, and when that happened, remnants from the old town emerged, including the top of the concrete bleachers of an old raceway. Because of all of the stuff that still lies underneath the surface of Lake Lanier, it is extremely dangerous for the more than 10 million visitors that go to the lake for recreational purposes annually. But not only is the lake dangerous for swimmers and boaters, but it is haunted. In the late 1950s, two young girls were driving on a bridge over Lake Lanier when they lost control of their car and it skidded off into the bridge. One of their bodies was found not long after. She was wearing a blue dress and had no hands, so she couldn't be identified. 31 years later, the car and the body of the other young girl were found. But to this day, visitors at Lake Lanier see the Lady of the Lake, which is the first girl wearing a blue dress, her ghost walking around aimlessly and restlessly. There have also been reports of ghosts being seen on rafts. People who have survived drownings have said that they felt like they were being pulled down by hands and that all the air in their lungs just disappeared. It is so creepy, and if you ever visit, please be careful.
One of the worst ways to die is by dancing. Check out this video to understand why dancing might be bad.
Worst Ways People Have Died, Part 5. In 1979, John Bowen was actually killed at a New York football game. It is said that a 40-pound plane in the shape of a lawnmower cracked his skull during the game. In 1518, there was a dancing plague. Around 400 people began to dance and were physically unable to stop for around 2 months. Surprisingly, this happened more than once between the 10th and the 16th century. It is said to be linked with demonic possession.
There is nothing in any of these pictures that would tell you that something terrible happened right after the pictures were taken.
Photo was taken before disaster part 2. The photo in front of you seems extremely normal, just a man and his child taking the picture. But pay attention to the red car to the right of him. Seconds after this photo was taken, the car exploded due to a bombing. The man and the child did survive, but the photographer and 28 other people sadly died that day, and around 220 people were injured.
Why do you think dogs prefer to chew toys? What if it is to soothe their killing instincts? Check out more facts about the world that you probably didn't want to know.
Yo, what's up? Here's some scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know, part 38. The reason dogs love chew toys so much, and the reason why they like squeaking them and ripping them apart, is because it simulates them killing their prey. It is said that if you consistently don't get enough sleep, that your brain may begin to start eating itself, so get your rest. Eating 4 tablespoons of salt at once could kill an adult, and eating 3 could kill a child. Please don't do anything with this information. This is extremely terrifying, but 1/3 of the murders that occur in the United States go unsolved.
This is the tale of Edwin Peisnel. This is the story of how a man who seemed relatively normal during the day turned into some form of creature that no one recognized at night.
Today we're going to be talking about the story of Edward Peisnel. This is Edward Peisnel, and during the day he was a seemingly normal person with a job as a construction worker, children, and a wife named Joanne. But by nightfall, he turned into somebody that no one had ever seen before. Edward Peisnel turned out to be a walking nightmare where between the years of 1957 and 1971, he would move on to stalk, sodomize, and rape over 13 people in New Jersey. And not only that, his wife claimed that they were hardly even married. In fact, he kept his wardrobe annexed in another side of the house that she could not get to. But when he was arrested in 1971, the police forced entry inside to his house and figured out that what he was hiding from his wife were multiple random costumes that he wore to rape his victims, and also a satanic shrine that he had been hiding all along. And yes, if you're wondering, that's the costume he wore most of the time.
In this next clip, you would be exposed to things that you would never have believed happened, but it is strangely true.
You won't believe these things actually happened. Violet Jessup was a nurse and ocean liner stewardess who gained the nickname Miss Unsinkable due to her remarkable survival of 2 shipwrecks. In 1912, she was aboard the Titanic when it met its infamous end, and then in 1916, she was on the sister ship, the Britannic, which suffered a similar fate. Jessup was also reported to have been on a 3rd ship, the Olympic. In Edgar Allan Poe's 1838 novel, The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket, a 4-member crew becomes stranded at sea without food or water. To stay alive, the crew makes the difficult conclusion to resort to cannibalism. To determine who would be sacrificed, they used a method of drawing straws. Tragically, the character selected and ultimately consumed was named Richard Parker. In 1884, a real ship became stranded at sea and one of its crew members, Richard Parker, became sick after drinking salt water. Faced with extreme desperation, the rest of the crew made the difficult decision to unalive and eat Parker before his condition worsened from disease. And that is why.
Check out this video and tell us what you think. Is this the same girl spotted by people captured by the drone?
People now think there's drone footage that confirms that this ghost is real. Oh my god. So since the 1980s, locals in Cannock Chase in the UK have claimed to see the ghost of a black-eyed little girl in the woods. Multiple witnesses have reported seeing a little girl with soulless black eyes and a crooked neck popping out of the woods. Some say she's searching for her mother, and others say that she feels demonic. But now reports are saying that a drone may have caught a photo of her. This is the image that was captured this week, and people are saying they think this is the girl. Here's a close-up image of it where you can see her hair, you can see her crooked neck, and you can see the black eyes. But what do you think? Is it her?
What do you know of the Tulsa Massacre? What do you know began the sudden turn of a once peaceful black neighborhood to a place where 13,000 homes were burnt to the ground? Check out the details in the clip.
Tulsa Massacre. Starting because of a lynch mob wasn't handed dick, a black teen accused of assaulting a girl when he accidentally stepped on her foot, the mob of whites tried to break into the National Guard armory for the weapons to then break into where Dick was held and kill him. The mob had grew to about 1,500 angry white people when city officials responded by deputizing people in the mob and giving them weapons, and in less than 24 hours time, what was once one of the wealthiest and peaceful black neighborhoods was burnt to the ground. Around 1,300 black homes burned down, over 200 looted and possessions stolen. Black-owned businesses were targeted, destroying newspaper outlets, a school, a library, a hospital, churches, hotels, and any other known businesses that was owned by black people. This mob left 8,000 black people homeless, and the government claimed 36 people were killed in all this. Yet, it's likely the number is around 300, because there was obviously a massive cover-up. with fake stories of Dick, state militia, and police burning any evidence that surfaced about the massacre, and that's why these striking photos and recounts were so little seen and
2
heard.
weeks ago, I celebrated my 107th birthday.
In this clip, you would see some of the worst things to ever happen on set. The movie in question is the movie titled The Wizard of Oz.
This is the darkest thing to ever happen on a movie set. This may be the scariest thing that has ever happened on a movie set. Now, we all know the movie The Wizard of Oz. It's considered one of the all-time great movies ever. Behind the scenes of this movie, some of the most horrific things that have ever happened on a movie set took place. To start things out, there's a conspiracy theory that while Dorothy and all of her friends are walking down the yellow brick road, if you look in the background, you can see a munchkin hanging himself. And past that, this is the darkest part of everything. Actress Judy Garland endured hell while she was on the movie set. The directors believed that Judy's breasts were too large, so they would tape them down in an extremely painful way. Already awful. And past that, they would give her sleeping pills to help her sleep at night after her 15 to 16 hour work days. And then when she woke up exhausted, they would give her speed. It was a very different time, obviously, but this is not okay by any way. But look, if you do want to watch other movies like that, then look no further than my friends at ExpressVPN. You guys remember back in the day, like when Netflix first started and it had every single movie, and now it just has like the bare minimum. Thankfully with ExpressVPN, that's an issue of yesterday, baby. You see, by using ExpressVPN, you can change your location of where you are on Earth so that you can access Netflix and other streaming services in different parts of the world and get those movies. So like say you change it to England, you can watch Harry Potter. I want to thank ExpressVPN very much, and I want to make sure you guys go check them out, because trust me, it'll be absolutely worth it. But I have something pretty dark to talk to you about, because
What happened to these men? What did they stumble upon in the woods, and how does it lead to their sudden and final disappearance? We might never know.
I'm sorry, the chills I get when I look at this photo. This picture was taken by Tom Gravit and Sam Petch back in 2013. Not like the creepiest setup, but they were out night exploring, and they thought what they stumbled upon must have been like an abandoned home just in the woods or something. But I want you to look closer. He only realized after the flash went off that there was a man standing there, just facing the side of the house for no known reason. It's never been clear what exactly happened to Tom and Sam after that night, as they were never found. Evidence that was collected from the scene where the phone was located suggested that there was probably some kind of a struggle or that things got violent. Even though this is sort of cloaked in mystery here, there's still this question. Undoubtedly, this was the person who was probably responsible for their disappearance, but who was it? What did they stumble upon when they found this home in the woods?
Why this veteran lied, we might never be able to fathom, but what we can be sure of is that he and his family might have tried to commit fraud by arguing that he was paralyzed from war duties.
This footage may just appear to be a normal man walking around his lawn. However, it's actually proof of an insurance and disability fraud case. The man walking in the video had previously claimed to be paralyzed. The man had served in the military and had suffered injuries that had left him allegedly paralyzed.
I'm paralyzed. I have a TBI.
A foundation that was dedicated to housing disabled vets had given the veteran and his family a home for free. After they moved in, neighbors of the veteran started seeing the supposedly paralyzed veteran walking in his backyard. They alerted the foundation about the veteran, and the foundation tried to get in contact with the veteran via phone, but their calls were never answered by the veteran. After one of the neighbors was able to take a video of the veteran walking, the foundation sent an investigator who tried to speak with the veteran, but the veteran stayed in his bedroom and did not come out. A few days after the investigator had visited, the family moved out of the home without telling anyone and disappeared.
You like to swim, don't you? Well, here are some places that humans should never be allowed to swim in. You should take note of this.
These are places humans should never swim. Up first is Bubbly Creek. This is an area of the Chicago River that used to be advised not to swim in. And there are several reasons for this. One of them is the disgusting runoff that will make its way into the river. Also discarded meat, food, and fecal matter. Over time, this stuff began to decay, leading to the bubbles that exist in this lake. This lake has become so toxic that fish can't even live in it. So if fish can't even live in it, humans should not step foot in it. So whatever you do, never swim in Bubbly Creek.
How disturbing were these videos? Let us know your thoughts on their originality.